Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson, here on the magnificent Monday edition of the Yard. As I adjust my mic right here, I apologize, but yeah, it's tough, man. It sucks to lose to Ole Miss in anything. It does. It really does. And here's the thing that bothers me more than that. Okay, is that this has not been a good Ole Miss team this year. They've had some stretches. They've looked pretty good. But I think really the driving point for me is I thought maybe perhaps we had graduated to the point that we could at least take that series. And we nearly did. We had our opportunities on Saturday. Sunday was a complete whitewash. Absolutely no excuse for what happened on Sunday. But, I think it's important that we take a deep breath. It's so easy to be a prisoner of the moment. I'm guilty of that sometimes too. Maybe not as much as our fans because, losing to Ole Miss always kind of evokes a emotional reaction because you got to get up and go to work. I mean, we live in the maroon bubble here in Starkville, right? Not a lot of Ole Miss people around, and those that are here kind of seen and not heard. And so I get it. Many of you had to get up and go to work today and deal with that, obnoxious Ole Miss coworker that wants to give you a little ribbon, and hey, they've earned the right to do that. But I get that aspect of it. I really do. And I think it's important to understand that if we're honest with ourselves, and we should be, the streak was going to come to an end at some point, and it did Sunday. But if I told you at the beginning of the year, hey, halfway through the SEC schedule, we're going to have 7 wins, you'd have said, you know what, Steve, I'll take it. It's easy to take that in forethought. But in hindsight, when you look at, hey, we've had all these one-run losses and we got to find a closer. We're not getting a clutch hit here and there. When you look at the minutia of it all, it's bothersome. It is. That doesn't change the fact that, again, we have 7 wins, 15 games into an SEC schedule, and we've got a pretty favorable schedule down the stretch with the exception of Arkansas. And you feel like, hey, we ought to be able to get 7 or 8 more and be right there around 500 and get to the NCAA tournament. But yeah, we got to win some games. We can't let this cascade and snowball into something that it shouldn't be. That's kind of where we are right now with this. But we're going to take some time, break down a series. As much as we don't want to, we are. And got some things to talk about, shall we say. Got some things to talk about. And I'll tell you, too, we also have very interesting top 10 list today. Appreciate your feedback, too. We had a lot of good feedback, too, about some people said, Steve, this is a great idea, including Roy. They said, hey, this is a great idea. I really enjoyed the list, a chance to kind of go back and think about this. It's also stirred up some interesting debate. I've had some people say, hey, Steve, you blew it on this one. And you know what? I'm okay. I'm okay with that because there's so many great songs from these the decades that have kind of raised us, right? The 90s, a little more easier to do, to be honest with you, than the 80s. And the reason that I say that, it was kind of a weird time in music in many respects, especially the late 90s. The early 90s, we had, really kind of some game-changing bands that hit the seeds. But late 90s and early 2000s was kind of a weird year in music. Weird years, shall we say. But I think I've done pretty well. But there were a lot of one-hit wonders and maybe 2-hit wonders that maybe you have an emotional attachment to. They didn't make my list, just so you guys know. Every one of the bands that made my 90s list, big-time bands. And there's one band on there you can, Steve, they've had a few hits. They did have a few hits, but some of the bands that you would champion had 1 or 2. So we'll get to that, really enjoy that, and we'll enjoy the first part of our baseball review, then we'll look ahead. But I tell you, before I get too deep in the weeds, too, yesterday I wanted to do something productive with my day after that dog of a baseball game. And so I went ahead and roughed out Chapter 11 of The Dude. Yeah, so we're over halfway home. At least I think so. But 11 chapters in now to The Dude. I'll write another one this week, maybe 2. We'll see how things go. I'm in a good groove right now. But I learned something last evening that I wanted to share with you all. I was so excited to write this. We had won 3 conference championships in 4 seasons under Dudy Noble. In his first 5 years, he won the conference 3 times. And in 1925, he returned a very, very, very talented team without Buddy Meyer. Buddy Meyer actually had a year of eligibility left, but he committed himself to his studies so he could graduate and go into pro baseball, where he played 17 years. And he probably belongs in a Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. A lot of articles out there kind of suggesting that. It's true. You look at his numbers compared to some of his contemporaries, they're in the Hall of Fame and he's not. He did get some votes, or a vote, for the Hall of Fame. But anyway, in 1925, we had to live life without Buddy Meyer, who had been our star in many respects. He wasn't the only guy, but he was a guy that was our best pro prospect, and obviously, and a guy that we kind of built an offense around. But in 1925, Dudy Noble did something that we'd never done, ever, in our history. By and large, the baseball schedule had been primarily Mississippi teams and teams from border states. But because we had won back-to-back Southern Conference League championships, there was a lot of intrigue about this Mississippi A&M team. People were like, how good are they? And we kind of wondered that about ourselves. Are we just good for around here? Are we good on a national level? So Dudy Noble loaded up the Aggies, and we took a one-week tour through the state of Texas. Now, Baylor had won the Southwest Conference Championship in 1923. They were a good club. In 24, they finished second or third in the league. I can't remember which. But Texas had won the league 11 or 12 years. The only year they didn't, they lost to Baylor. And in 1924, the Texas Longhorns went 29-1. Their only loss to Baylor. Included in those 29 wins was a win over a minor league team. That's how good the Texas Longhorns were. And while there weren't national college baseball polls back then, there are a lot of people that believe the Texas Longhorns were the best baseball team in the country. They had played at Hardy Field, which was the precursor, of course, to Dudy Noble Field. And they affectionately called that Jack Hardy's Hill. You had to walk up Hardy's Hill to get to the diamond, to Hardy Field. And so Texas had come over here and played us before. So we made a return trip out to Texas. And back in those days, there were a lot of teams from the north that traveled south because they were trying to kind of get out of the cold weather and play some baseball. So, we'd have, Michigan, or we'd have Wisconsin or Illinois. We'd have a lot of those Big Ten teams come south. They'd play us and Ole Miss, Alabama, Auburn. They'd go home. Well, we got to do that for the first time ourselves. Went over to Texas and played Baylor, Texas, and SMU. And what's interesting about that Texas series, again, these guys were a dominant force in college baseball, but Dudy Noble took your Diamond Dogs over there and beat Texas not once, but twice. Finished up that Texas road trip 5-1. We had never, ever, ever played a college baseball game in the state of Texas. We went over there and beat two of the top teams in the state of Texas, and then beat SMU on the way home. And of course, SMU disbanded their baseball program, generations ago. But I wanted to share that with you because we need some of that edge in our baseball program. And I'm not advocating for change here. Okay, understand that. I'm not advocating for a coaching change or a roster change. But the thing that I have always respected about Mississippi State baseball, especially the days of our youth and certainly our storied history, even before many of us were ever born. And I think that's one of the main focuses in writing this book, not just to also honor the memory of Dudy Noble and his life and career, but also, too, there's some sections in there that really illustrate that Mississippi State was kind of a blue blood in college baseball before that was even a term. But the reality of it is we need to have some of that. We don't care who you are. We'll play you in your own backyard, with limbs and pine cones if that's what it takes, because we're Mississippi State. And I want to see that mystique about Mississippi State baseball returned. I want that as much as I want anything in all of Mississippi State athletics. I want people to fear play in Mississippi State. Now, we've taken some strides to getting that back this year. We got a little more of an edge to us this year. But I still think we're a little bit under-talented in a couple spots that have kind of kept us from being that force that people don't want to play us, And so it's an attitude, it's an edge, and there's a reason we named the baseball field after Dudy Noble. There's a reason. You're going to learn a lot about that when you read the dude. So just wanted to share that with you because that was one of those big moments in baseball. And I suspect most people, goodness, we're talking 100 years ago. I suspect most of you don't even know that story. There's going to be a lot of stories in this book that you don't know. And that's one of them. We'll get into greater detail in the book. So again, we'll wrap up the rough draft of this thing in the end of May. And then we'll spend the month of June kind of finalizing, editing, and putting that thing together, and we'll push it out to print. So next month, we'll open up for pre-orders. Not exactly sure of the date. And remember, it's going to be a very limited edition, numbered edition of this book. It's going to be unlike the rest of them. We're going to do tens of thousands of books here. But there's going to be a small segment of fans that are going to be able to get a book. It's going to be more expensive, but it's going to be worth it. Let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company, longtime sponsors of this show. I love Bulldog Burger Company. You do too, and you should. I was in there last week, had lunch with my friend Jeff Murrah. Jeff is my friend, recently retired. Happy for Jeff. It's always nice to break bread with friends, and when I get a chance to do it, when my friends come to town, because, hey, Steve, where do you want to eat? Well, let's go to Bulldog Burger Company. Yeah, and it's not just because I want to go. I want them to go to experience the great cuisine, the great service, the great atmosphere, the good pricing, and you walk away feeling satisfied, right? That's the main reason you go eat. It's not just for survival. When you go out to eat, you want to have a dining experience. That's what you have at Bulldog Burger Company. 3 great locations to serve you: University Drive in Stark Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive in the Ridge and Flowwood area. Have the spring rolls as your appetizers. Jeff and I did. We did. I didn't get that chocolate shake to go, though. I probably should have. Been a nice capper to the meal. But I also had the chicken bacon ranch sliders. That's a good lunch portion, too. I'm a big fan of the Sloppy Joe sliders. I switched it up a little bit. Had the chicken bacon ranch. It's great. My server told me it's her favorite on the menu. While I was there, I got to see Ian, my youngest son. It's about the only time I get to see him these days. Being a college student, they don't run out to the house very often. But, yeah, it's always good to go there. When I go there, I feel like I'm going home in many respects. I go in there, people know who I am. They don't even have to ask what I want to drink, that sort of stuff. It's always a great thing, and you can have that same experience too. Have those great restaurant quality hamburgers, whether it be the Bulldog itself. I had people hit me up today and say, Steve, give me a top 3. What are your recommendations? Start with the Bulldog if you've never been, and then maybe venture out from that. The Smokehouse is good. That's a Brian Haydad favorite. The Freshman 15 is great. That was probably the second burger I had there. But I loved them all. Be sure and check them out today. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet, M-E-A-T. All right. Let's start with the happy part of our weekend. We had Eddie Newsom behind home plate, and I like Eddie. We've had him a couple weekends in SEC play, and pretty consistent strike zone there. I think we've had Eddie 3 times this year. I think that's right. But anyway, so we're on the road at Oxford, and Cal Steven on the mound, Riley Maddox on the mound for Ole Miss. And a good day for us. Could have been a better day for us. And he says, Steve, how can you say that? We won 8-0. We still left some ducks on the pond. All right, I'll get started top of 1. Larry grounds out to short. Marshawn flies out to center. Then Jordan strikes out swinging. DJ didn't have a great weekend. Had a good Friday. Didn't have a great weekend. All right, bottom of 1. Cal comes out. And the thing that I have learned about Cal Steven, and it's not, somebody tipped me off about this, somebody that knows him better than you and I do. When Cal is on his game, he's getting a ton of routine fly balls. That was really the case against Ole Miss. Wind wasn't blowing out. Really no wind to speak of. And Cal goes out there and challenges hitters and is able to get them to hit his pitch. And he gets these fly outs to the outfield. And that's how the first goes. Hill flies out to center. Fisher flies out to center. Leger isn't hit by the pitch, and then Groff strikes out swinging. Groff had a really tough night with State pitching on Friday. Had some big hits on Sunday. But on Friday, he just kind of proved he can't lay off that slider. All right, top of second. Not much going here for State. Hines strikes out swinging. Hyzak isn't hit by the pitch, and then goes to second on a wild pitch, and then steals third. And so, you're in a great situation here. Runners on the corners after the Bryce Chance walk, and then Aaron Downs grounds into a double play. I mean, you give me a productive out there, it's a 1-0 ball game. And this is to play, too, if you recall, we should have challenged. He clearly beats it. We don't challenge it. By the time he mentions to Scott Klein, we want to review it. They say, hey, the time has passed. That's a mistake. It's really 2 mistakes. Scott Klein blows the call at first, and then we blow the opportunity to challenge because it would have given us a run. Now, ultimately, it didn't matter. It proved to be a moot point, but those are things that can't happen on both sides of it. That's a very routine play for an official, and he's right there on top of it. I mean, you're looking for the bag, you're looking for the foot on the bag and listening for the pop of the glove, and he blows it. We shouldn't have had to review it. That said, we still should have reviewed it, but we didn't. That's a mistake by Lemonis. It is, and he'll admit that himself. But it's also a mistake by Klein. You know, two wrongs don't make a right. Both sides are wrong here. We shouldn't have had to review it, but when he blew it, we should have reviewed it. Cost us a run. All right, bottom of second. Jackson Ross singles to left centered, and Furness strikes out swinging. Lyons pops up to the shortstop, and then Uttermark strikes out swinging. So really good inning here for Cal. And again, you're getting punch outs, and you're getting elevated balls. You're not getting a ton of ground balls from Cal. It's just not really his game. Top of third, Stego's 1-2-3 again. Kohler grounds out to first, and then Long grounds out to third. Larry grounds out to second. So Maddox doing a good job getting the routine ground balls, and they're kind of making plays behind him too, which has kind of been a tough thing for Ole Miss too. They haven't been the best fielding team, as we know. All right, Cal still cruising here in the third. Gets Randall to line out to center. Luke Hill grounds out to short, and then Fisher grounds out to short. Very efficient inning there for him. No question about that one. Was there a 7-pitch inning? Something like that? Ridiculous. All right, top of four. Mershon flies out to left. Jordan then singles to right field. Kind of gets us going a little bit. Okay, we got a runner on base. Did a good job there, too, on a 2-0 count. Instead of trying to do too much, DJ kind of changes his point of contact and pushes that ball to right field. Like to see more of that. Hines flies out to center, and then Hyzak grounds out to third. So we strand the runner. Bottom of four. Steven still rolling here. Leger flies out to right. Groff strikes out swinging again on 3 pitches. And Jackson Ross flies out to right. So kind of a prototypical or stereotypical inning from Cal Steven there. All right, top of 5. We talked about the Ole Miss fielding situation, and it kind of rears its ugly head here. Bryce Chance reaches on a throwing error and then takes second. And so now you got a runner in scoring position here in the middle innings. You got to find a way to get him around. We get the bunt down, right? So we sacrifice him to third, and we get the routine ground ball from Logan Kohler to the right side there. They're playing the shift there, so the second baseman's actually playing kind of a short field position on the outfield grass. No chance to get the run. Good job of situational hitting here. Makes it a 1-0 ball game. And then Johnny Long walks, much to the chagrin of the Ole Miss crowd. They absolutely were on him all weekend, especially Saturday and Sunday. And then Larry pops up to short. Bottom of 5, Furness leads off with a single, back up the box, and on a full count. And then Lyons flies out, shortstop. Wild pitch sends Furness to second. Uttermark strikes out swinging, and then Randall flies out to left. So, again, here we go. Punch outs, routine fly balls. Top of 6, State puts this game away. And again, it's Dave Mershon being the catalyst, being the spark plug. Reads the third baseman playing back, gets down a near perfect bunt, doesn't even get a throw. He's on base, and then DJ homers to center field. The replay makes that look a lot closer than it was. It was a home run. They make it seem like he almost robbed it. He did not. All right, 3-0 ball game now. Then Hines follows with a single, really sharp single back up the box. Hyzak then singles to center field. And then he balks both guys over to second and third. And it was a balk, too. You know, it's like when you start to come set, you have to come set. You can't fake come set and then reposition. You can't do it. This is a good call by Eddie Newsom. And Bianco knew it, too. I mean, Bianco's been on baseball a long time. And then next thing you know, Bryce Chance grounds out to the shortstop, and then the runners advance. A run scores 4-0. Aaron Downs then walks, and that's it for Riley Maddox. And State, again, really that third time through the order, right? That's when you start seeing some things happen. First time through the order, it's always a little bit tough, That's one of the reasons I wish we could be a little bit cleaner that first time through when we're pitching. But, again, everybody comes up and reaches. The only guy that doesn't reach is the guy that sends in the run here. So really good inning for State so far. They bring in Austin Simmons. He didn't hang around for long. Kohler singles to left field. That sends another run home, makes it 5-0. Then Long walks to load the bases. They say, okay, that's it, Austin. We've got to bring in Morrell here. Larry grounds out to third. That allows another run to score. And then Mershon, big hit here in the ball game. This is what takes it. It really kind of changes the dynamic of how you pitch too, right? It's 6-0. You think, man, it's just starting to get away. At 8-0, it's getting away. So you knew they weren't going to burn a lot of good arms here. But Marshawn gets State the needed separation. Singles to the right side, 2-run score. He takes second on the throw and then steals third. And DJ strikes out swinging. Would have loved to have gotten that run home too. But very, very good clutch hitting in this inning. And that's something that's been lacking from this team at times. Bottom of 6. Now with an 8-run cushion, Cal just kind of bears down. Gets a fly out from Hill on the first pitch. Fisher flies out, and then Ledge flies out. And again, very, very efficient inning. I think that's a 6-pitch inning. It's crazy. Back-to-back innings where we're getting it done in single digits. That allows you to work deeper in ball games. All right, top of 7. Hines walks on 4 pitches. Hyzak then, the fielder's choice there. They force Hines at second. It's tough to double up Connor Hyzak unless the ball's hit really hard right at you. Chance then doubles down the line, and Hyzak goes to third. So you got runners at second and third with less than 2 outs. Just need a productive out here. I mean, I love the home run, right? I love the ball in the gap. I love the RBI sac fly. But we do the one thing we can't do, and that's strike out swinging. You got to put that ball in play there and get that run home. We don't. And then Kohler lines out to left field. They bring in Dennis in place of Morrell there. But, that's, again, it's an 8-0 ball game. But you can't ever just ignore the situational hitting approach. No matter what the score is, right here, Aaron Downs, who is a good player, don't get me wrong, his approach here is give me something to elevate or give me something to push to the right side here. It's as simple as that. Now, I usually teach my guys, hey, a ground ball to second will get it done. But you know what? Just give me a routine fly ball to left, and that run's going to score. Ultimately, you're going up there looking to mash. But at the very least, you got to get a productive out here. And we didn't, and I'm not being down on Aaron. I'm just talking about there are times these things happen. And, hey, give the pitcher a little credit here too, for getting ahead 0-2 and then finishing with a swing. But we've got to get a productive out there. Kohler lines out to left to end the home half, the visiting half of the 7th. Meanwhile, Cal Stevens still cruising. Groff strikes out swinging on 3 pitches again. Ross strikes out swinging, and then Furness lines out to center field. So a couple punchies, not quite as efficient as the original 2 innings, but still a good job there. All right, top of 8. Long pops up to the first baseman. Larry flies out to left. Marshawn flies out to the first baseman, too, on the outfield grass. And that's part of the deal, right? And again, I felt like when we got the lead there, you got to keep swinging. You can't change your approach just because the game's got separation. You can't. That's the difference between professional hitters and college hitters. You've got to go up there always and take advantage of every at-bat. Every out is precious, no matter the score. Because what happens is if you relax and you don't have that same intensity, you don't maintain that same approach, even in a game like this, you start getting into bad habits. You always have to stay locked in and stay on your game plan no matter the score. Bottom of 8, Cal rolling again. Lyons out at first on the ground ball to first. He pitches to Cal. Hughes strikes out looking. Randall singles to right field. First Ole Miss base runner they've had in some time, and then Hill strikes out swinging. All right, top of 9. And again, this is, I really see, I know we're just trying to get out of there. I get it. And listen, I want to give the pitcher some credit here. Because we strike out 3 times in this inning. 2 of them looking and 1 swinging. At least Michael O'Brien got up there and had the lengthy at bat. And he said 5 at bats. I saw somebody earlier today kind of being critical of him. So he's 35 games. He doesn't have a hit. He's had 5 at bats. It's been 35 games. You don't have a hit either. You just hadn't had the opportunity to swing. He's had very limited. He's had 5 more bats than you. But, this, again, no matter the circumstances, you got to go up there and get quality bats. And in this 9th, we just kind of took a flyer. Bottom of 9, we bring in Tyson Harden in place of Cal Steven. Cal wanted to finish it, and I think considering the questions about Nate Dome's availability right now, this is the smart move. Fisher strikes out swinging. Leger strikes out swinging. Groff reaches on a fielding error. This is the kind of stuff that irritates you too, right? Routine play, we throw the ball away, and then we get Ross to ground out. But yeah, I mean, it's 8-0 ball game. But again, you got to maintain focus the whole way through. I mean, you have to finish games. It's not just about winning games. You got to finish games. And so State wins, and then all of a sudden, everybody in Starkville's thinking, man, we can sweep these guys. I got people in the media calling me and say, what do you think? What do you think? I said, I worry about Sunday, but I think with Drangelo on the hill on Saturday, we got a good chance to win that ball game. And then, we'll see what happens. Maybe we can turn it into a church league softball game on Sunday. And maybe with our offense, we can figure some things out. Plus, you never know what kind of emotional state Ole Miss would be in going into Sunday had they lost on Saturday. But that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. All right, time for today's top 10 list. Brought to you, as always, by closewithblair.com. That's C-L-O-S-E with Blair, B-L-A-I-R.com. Blair Chandler is my friend, your friend, our collective friend in the mortgage industry. Guys, getting a mortgage, applying for a mortgage, closing a mortgage, that's a very major decision that affects most of your life. You get into a 30-year mortgage and you get into a bad deal, you could be giving money away, right? Get the best deal for yourself. It's not just about getting closed. And if you're a young person just kind of starting out, that's what you're thinking. I just got to get in the house and begin to kind of build some equity. And then maybe you refinance down the road. But let me tell you, most people don't. That's why it's so important to get in a good deal right away. Blair Chandler is your advocate. He will protect you. He will make sure that you're not the victim of predatory lending out there. This guy's a very reputable guy. I've been in the industry 23 years. And so if you're looking for a game day condo or looking for your first home, or I don't know, you've been transferred, maybe you got to relocate unexpectedly, Blair can make all of that a little less stressful because he knows how to get things done. Give Blair a text or call today at 601-500-2344. Again, 601-500-2344. Guys, Blair can get you pre-qualified. That's a huge, huge advantage right there. Don't waste your time or your real estate agent's time going around looking at homes that are perhaps outside of your means, and all of a sudden you fall in love, and then it's like, well, I wanted this house, but we couldn't afford it because of our debt-to-income ratio, so I had to settle for this. Don't even go look at those mansions when all you can afford is a traditional ranch-style house. I'm just telling you to save yourself a little time, aggravation, and disappointment. Get pre-qualified. And trust me, you want to see your real estate agent get motivated to get you done? Yeah, get you closed? Let them know you're pre-qualified. Yeah, have that letter of pre-qualification from Blair, who now works for Priority One Mortgage. But visit the website, closewithblair.com, and be sure to work with him. He will absolutely take care of you and be your advocate through underwriting. That's closewithblair.com. Okay. All right, so now it's the 90s. A lot of good feedback on that 80s list. And I've had some people tell me, hey, Steve, the 80s rock list was so good. Can we get an 80s pop list? Or maybe even an 80s country list? And I don't know, maybe we'll see down the road. We'll see. I don't rule it out. But I do appreciate the dialogue and all the feedback. I really, really do. Appreciate you guys so much. So now we get into the 1990s. Now, some of you young bucks especially, you think that we wore flannel shirts all the way through the decade. And the truth of the matter is no, we did not. We did not. Not everybody grew their hair out. Some people shouldn't have. Some people should never got it cut. It was a different deal. It really was. And grunge lasted about 15 minutes. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it was really just the early part of the decade. People have kind of romanticized that period, and I'm a grunge guy too. As you can tell if you look at me, I'm still a grunge guy. But understand, that was just the early part of the decade. It really only lasted about, 18 months, 2 years maybe. That was it, truthfully. And I don't mean MTV, ramrodding everybody that worked at a sandwich shop in Seattle and they happened to play a guitar. I mean, it's like once MTV, as much as I miss some of that stuff, they ruined so much of music because they're like, hey, well, if Nirvana and Soundgarden and Pearl Jam are good, let's go back into Seattle and see what else we can dig up. And then you begin to realize the reason that Seattle didn't have a great music scene before is because of the fact that most of those people went to California. It wasn't this honey hole that they made it out to be. Oh, the next big thing from Seattle. Here comes the Flamin' Monkeys. It doesn't work that way. But nevertheless, let's get into this. Now, number one, the 1990 song. I'm so used to that format, right? So our song from 1990 actually comes from an album that was released in '89, but the single itself was released in 1990, and it charted in 1990. It's one of my favorite bands of all time. We didn't mention them on the 80s list that I recall. I'm pretty confident I'm going to look here just to be sure. Just to be sure, because I'm pretty confident that we did not. It's so nice to have these notes here. It truly is. We did not mention this band on our 80s list. And so, yes, I'm correct. I thought I was wrong, but I was mistaken. But it's Tesla's Love Song. An absolutely crossover, runaway hit for them. Of course, they already had a big following. They did. And Tesla, of course, is a band that had some staying power through the 90s. They're still touring now, still releasing new music. People still buying merch, going to shows. They're not a nostalgia act like some of their contemporaries, but Tesla, a great rock and roll band. But Love Song was a song that everybody kind of gravitated to. And I think a lot of it's because it's so relatable. Basically, it's like a letter to a friend that has gone through a bad breakup. You think that it's over, and your love has finally reached the end. And I remember the part at the end that always gets to me. It always does. And it doesn't matter what's going on in my life. I listen to this song, I'm in the right headspace, is at the end when he says, I know. And at the end of the day, when we're having trouble in life, that's the only thing we really need to know, right? Is I know what it's like. That somebody out there can kind of validate our pain and let us know that what we're dealing with is not unique. It gives you some hope that you can make it. I absolutely love the song. I love that entire Great Radio Controversy album. I love just about everything in the Tesla catalog. If you're looking for a band with staying power, it's Tesla. All right, number 9, and this is going to be a surprise to many people, because I know many of you, I saw Todd and Jennifer Barnett over the weekend, and I know that Jennifer Barnett is probably thinking, I know which way Steve is going to go right here in 91. And Jennifer, I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong. A lot of people are thinking, hey, this was such a big year of music. And you're right, it was. It was. And even though many of your people have romanticized. And one more thing, too. Guys, the first band that was popular on MTV, that was like wearing flannel shirts and stuff, wasn't from Seattle. It wasn't. It was Trickster. You don't believe me? Go look at the Give It To Me Good video. They were wearing flannel shirts and everybody's like, a flannel? When did flannel become cool? Yeah, it's true. But 1991, I'm not going with anything from Seattle. Other than the fact that I think Duff McKagan lived in Seattle for a while. It's Guns N' Roses' November Rain. To me, that is the obvious choice. I know some other people are like, but Steve, no. You go back and look at what November Rain, it's an iconic song. It's still played. People still love it. It might be the greatest song not called Welcome to the Jungle in the November Rain catalog. I'm going to look up something together. We're going to find this out together. I think we've touched on this on the past, but we're going to look up here and just take a look here. I'm going to pull up the YouTube video for November Rain. We're not going to play it. But guys, November Rain, the official video on the Guns N' Roses official YouTube channel, has 2.1 billion views. 2.1 billion. It's absolutely amazing. And of course, there's other people out there that have kind of bogarted off of that and robbed millions of views from Guns N' Roses because they just posted the video themselves under the guise of free use. But your top rock song for 1991 is November Rain. 1992, things changed a little bit. We do go with the Seattle sound here. We do. And we're actually going to go to the guys that were kind of the forerunners of grunge. They kind of got lumped into grunge. They truly weren't grunge. But they really hit the scene, in the late 80s with an album that now is iconic in many respects, an album called Facelift. And they returned in 1992 with their follow-up to Facelift. Of course, you had Sap, the EP first, then Facelift. And of course, Sap wasn't available in record stores until after Facelift became a hit. But the album Dirt came out in 1992. And I think most people, if we're honest with ourselves, even though Alice in Chains was kind of unfairly maligned and kind of mislabeled as a grunge band, even though they have some of the same elements, them and the Melvins were kind of the ones to really start all that. They're the true fathers of grunge. True story. They were doing it before anybody else. Guys, Kurt Cobain and those guys were like cutting yards and raking leaves to get money together to go watch Alice in Chains play. True story. But we're going with Wood, which is my favorite track off the Dirt album. If you don't know Alice in Chains' Dirt album and you're a rock fan, you absolutely should. I don't care how young you are or how old you are. That is that album. That is probably the album from 1992. All right, we get 93. And you say, Steve, but you haven't even touched on the quintessential band of the 90s, and you're absolutely right. So we're going to do that now. In 93, the top rock song in America, in the world, in the known universe, in my estimation, was Pearl Jam's Go off the Versus album. I almost went with Animal here, which was the first single off the album. And I absolutely love the album. I love everything about it. I think it's an absolutely phenomenal album from start to finish. Glorified G, great track too. Didn't get released as a single, but you know I'm legit. So 93, Pearl Jam's Go. Had a chance to see Pearl Jam on this tour with the Bride. We were in New Orleans. Saw them with Urge Overkill opening. Of course, we've had Urge Overkill on our top 10 list before with Black Havana. But I saw Pearl Jam the night. I saw them at Kiefer Arena on the campus of UNO the night that they got arrested with Jack McDowell for the White Sox out at Pat O'Brien's. All right, 94. And again, music progressing here in many respects. And I would be remiss if I didn't have a Chris Cornell song on this list. And so many of you, this was probably your gateway track to Soundgarden. And it's off the Super Unknown album, which was the follow-up to Bad Motorfinger. Bad Motorfinger really changed my life in many respects. Honestly, I was in Pine Grove rehabilitation. I was in recovery, just getting sober. When my roommate, who was actually an Ole Miss guy, says, man, you got to listen to this. I goes, well, I've heard it. He goes, no, you need to listen to this. You need to sit down and listen to the lyrics, get the lyric sheet out, listen to this. I think you really dig it. And I did. And it, in many respects, became the soundtrack of my life in many ways. And then Super Unknown came out, and it's like all of a sudden I've got a whole new disc of all my new favorite songs. And so we're going to go with Black Hole Sun from 94. 1995, things began to change. I became a father. Ani was born in 95. And I remember hearing this song for the very first time. I was working in a retail furniture business establishment, and we had, the satellite radio before that was even a thing. We had, the Direct TV and the, what was the other company called? USSB, United States Satellite Broadcasting. Yeah, we had all that stuff. But we had music. And so when the store would close and we'd have to make all our collection calls and clean up and all that kind of stuff, we'd put music on. And I remember hearing this song for the first time. And I was like, my God, who is that? What an incredible song. And it wasn't even really played on terrestrial radio yet. And so we kind of had this forerunner, this band called Oasis, and it's Wonderwall. And when Dana and I renewed our vows years ago, our kids sang this song. How cool is that? Ani played the guitar. All right, 1996, and one of the best albums, I think, not only of this year, but really of the decade. It's the third album from Smashing Pumpkins. It was a double album called Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. Another album that I could listen to from start to finish and love every second of it. Now, the song that we went with today is not my favorite on the album. My favorite on the album is actually Bullet with Butterfly Wings, but that came out in 95. But they released this single 1979 in 1996. And so I share that with you because, number one, the Pumpkins were amazing. And I remember when Gish came out, we were right around Hattiesburg, and some friends of mine had it. I borrowed the CD, went out and bought a copy for myself. And it really, in many respects, I would give Smashing Pumpkins really the credit for kind of getting me out of the 80s, even though I have returned many times. Smashing Pumpkins, I was like, these guys are pretty cool. Little did I know they had a female bass player too. But nevertheless, my music taste began to change because of the Smashing Pumpkins. You go back and listen to that Gish album too with Disarm and all that stuff. It blows you away. It does. All right, I would be remiss too if I didn't mention, I hadn't got there yet. 1997, an interesting year. This is probably the one that I don't have the most confidence in But I absolutely loved this song when it came out. I was managing a Holly furniture store in Natchitoches, Louisiana at the time. And I remember when I heard this song for the first time, I was like, well, this is kind of clever. You know, it's kind of a throwback. It's a little bit different. It's a little happier, I guess, than what we've had most of the 90s. But it's semi-charm kind of life from Third Eye Blind. Maybe it's the doot that gets to me. I don't know, but I love it. I absolutely love that song. I love that band, and of course they had some other big hits after that. But they were a big part of the late '90s for many people. You know, Jumper was big. A lot of you bought that album too. Little did we know that even though it's a very happy sounding song, it's about doing crystal meth. It's about addiction. All right, 1998. Arguably the coolest person alive, regardless of race, gender, political affiliation, religious beliefs, hairstyles, whatever. It's Lenny Kravitz. And Lenny's got a brand new album out too. I don't know if you check this out. Lenny, again, just has staying power. Lenny Kravitz is a genius, an absolute musical genius. And what I would encourage you to do, like even like when you're traveling sometimes, you just want something else to listen to. Just go pop in a Lenny Kravitz album that you're not familiar with. Just go find it on Apple Music or Spotify and say, you know what, I love Lenny Kravitz. I like the hits, but let me plug in something different. And just go listen to that. Even go back to the very beginning, man. I mean, there's so many great Lenny Kravitz songs. And I absolutely dug this one in 1998. It's Fly Away. Absolutely dig it, man. And I believe that's on 5. I think it's correct. But, man, what an amazing catalog. What an amazing performer. What an amazing person. And does so much good for kids and music. And has raised a lot of money to keep music classes in schools. One of my favorite videos that I've seen probably in the last 20 years is there was a school doing a choral performance in the city park in New Orleans. And it just so happened Lenny Kravitz was in the area. And he hears these kids singing one of his songs. I think it was Fly Away, as a matter of fact. And Lenny Kravitz walks down and talks to the kids and actually goes through the performance with them. And how many superstars, really do that when it wasn't a media opportunity? I mean, honestly. Great guy, great musician, one of my favorites of all time. Probably the main reason I have dreads. All right, 1999. It's not Prince, but I tell you this. This is a band, too, that they're back. They're touring. They're reunited momentarily. There's talk that may do some new music. We'll see. I don't know that the guys in Alter Bridge really need to do another Creed album. I'm sure it would hit, and many of you are going to go watch them play. But Creed really ushered us out of the 90s and into the 2000s. And I give Mark Tremonti a lot of credit for that. A lot of people, talk about Scott Stapp, who's a good vocalist, don't get me wrong. But that band is not the same without Mark Tremonti. Mark Tremonti is a metal guy. And if you don't believe me, go listen to some of his solo records. Mark Tremonti is a very technical player and arguably the best guitarist of this era. That's how I see it. Maybe you see it differently. But you go back and you listen to our 1999 track, you listen to One, and you tell me that guy is not a metal guy, you're kidding yourself. Because he works a little bit of those runs and those harmonics in there along with kind of the late 90s sound. So wanted to give a shout out to Mark Tremonti, who I've met. And I love the fact that Mark Tremonti is so down to earth. You meet a lot of these rock stars, and there's so many people that, they're larger than life. And Mark Tremonti is just like the same guy that you had coffee with, yesterday. It's just he's the same dude. And I love that about him. I love the fact that he's so humble, but also too, I love the stuff that he's done on the side as a Tremonti guy, and of course what he's done with Alter Bridge. But it all started with Creed. So that's your top 10 list for today. I hope you enjoy that. I think it's an amazing list. And I'll probably go listen to some of this today. Probably go dig into some Lenny Kravitz stuff. If you haven't done so, listen to that new album from Lenny too. I think you'll dig that too. Lenny's true to himself, man. But for those of you going to see Creed this summer, congratulations. Should be a great show. If you have ideas for the top 10 list, reach out, let us know. Best way to do that is to hit up Roy on Twitter. Roy Samanthi is my friend, based out of, let's say, the Memphis area. Roy and I have broken bred together, had pizza up there in North Mississippi and South Haven area. Really good place up there. I can't remember the name of it, but it was great. But yeah, Roy won't take you for pizza, but he will filter through your list. So hit him up on Twitter at Dogmatic67, DAWGMATIC67. And you never know, I may do your list. We got 2 more episodes of this series, the top 10s. Of course, next we'll get into the 2000s and then the 2010s. And then we'll resume our normal programming. But again, thanks so much for your feedback. And if you've got ideas, let us know. We know that we don't have the corner of the market on good ideas. And thanks as always to Roy for all he does for the show. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. Man, I love Campus Bookmart. I have for a long time. If you're looking for Mississippi State merchandise, look no further than Campus Bookmart. The best selection, best pricing, best service around. Serving a great fan base for a long, long time. Miss Kathy Brown does an amazing job outfitting that place with the latest in Mississippi State merchandise. Whether it be for your wardrobe, your office, your pet, your RV, your fan cave, whatever needs you have, you can fill them. Whether you've got Bulldog fans that you're buying a wedding gift for, a graduation gift, grandparents, it's always a good thing to think about that diploma frame. That's always a cool gift, right? Wide selection of those at Campus Bookmart with graduation coming up. You can go by and see their smiling faces next time you're in town. They'd love to see you, neatly positioned on the backside of campus. If you can't make it to town, perhaps it's difficult for you, you can still support a Starkville business, which is always a great thing, by visiting them on the World Wide Web at campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays. That is BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. That gets you free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than 75 bones, absolutely incomplete. All right, let's get into game 2, which was really the decisive game in this series. This is like, State got after Ole Miss on Friday. All right, Bulldog fans, let's go ahead and admit it. Mississippi State folks and Boots are awful fond of one another. Our friends at Tecovas are back to get you ready for this festival and concert season. You know it's going to be all about boots, and Tecovas is your stop for festival style. Tecovas has seasonal and limited edition offerings this spring, including men's and women's boots, apparel, hats, bags, and so much more. All Tecovas boots are made by hand in a time-honored tradition with timeless styles that are always on trend. And Tecovas has first-wear comfort with little to no break-in period. It's hard to find that level of comfort paired with this level of style. Plus, their direct-to-consumer pricing keeps value on your feet and money in your pocket. Stop by your local Tecovas store, have a complimentary drink or two, and shop new styles. The smell of fresh leather and a friendly staff are always at your service. Many stores even have leather custom branding to make your boots truly personalized. And with regular live music and events coming up, there's no in-store experience quite like theirs. If you can't make it into a store, just visit Tecovas, that's TECOVAS.com. They offer free shipping on all boots, as well as free returns and exchanges, and ship right to your door. Go to Tecovas.com today and find your new favorite pair of boots. Bulldog fans, many of us grew up in a time we didn't lock our doors. We didn't feel the need to. We didn't have a need to. But the world is a much different place today than it was when we were much younger. Surely you've seen your neighbors have these video doorbells and things of that nature. You can have the same peace of mind, but also the convenience that you grew up with our friends at Eufy. That's EUFY. Very, 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 very simple product here. Very easy to install, and you set it up with just a Phillips screwdriver. No drilling required, no power tools, anything like that. You get the keyless entry. You don't have to fumble around with the keys when you got your hands full. You never have to worry about your kids losing their keys. Or perhaps you've got a rental property and you worry about people passing that key around. You also don't have the anxiety of having this battery that goes down on you. Guys, you got 4 months of power here, and you get a low battery notification before it runs out so you can charge it back up. It's pretty simple. There's no monthly fee, unlike a lot of other brands that charge you that fee. You can have your recordings locally and never have to pay for storage. Eufy is also on standby for you 24/7. And you can get a worry-free experience with an 18-month warranty, all backed by our professional customer service team. Contact them anytime by telephone, email, or even live chat, which is awfully, awfully convenient. And here's the thing. There's just so much out there in the world these days. Wouldn't it be nice to know maybe who visited your door when you're out, or perhaps have the security of knowing that you've got video surveillance if anytime somebody comes to your door? Well, you absolutely can. Make sure that you look for Eufy Video Lock. That's visit EUFYofficial.com/video lock to see how you can gain complete control of your door. Ole Miss gets after State on Sunday. We're going to do a brief review of Sunday, not much of highlights for the Bulldogs. But, let's talk a little bit about this Saturday game, because this is one that we feel like we should have won, and I really believe we left some low-hanging fruit on the vine here. Had a chance to take this series on Saturday. Really felt like State was the better team for most of the game, but give Ole Miss credit late. Every time State scored, they answered. And part of the deal, right? Part of the deal. It sucks, but it's part of it, man. It really is. And but this is the one, as bad as yesterday hurt, the one on Saturday hurt even more. And the reason for that is because I really believe we should have won on Sunday. I don't think there was any question. Ole Miss was a better team on the field, And any given day that's going to happen. But, real quickly here, let's run through the Saturday game. Turned into a bullpen game because it goes 12 innings. But, again, State leaving some opportunities open early and in the middle innings. Ole Miss actually takes a 3-0 lead in this ball game, and State battles back to take the lead there in the fifth. And from there, you felt like, okay, maybe we'll be okay. Should have been. We weren't. All right, top one. State goes 1-2-3. Larry flies out. Marshawn flies out. Jordan strikes out swinging. Again, not a great weekend for DJ. And we kind of go as those guys in the middle of the order do. Bottom of 1-2-3 inning. Here for Durangelo. Ground out to short. Groff strikes out swinging. Lengthy at bat there, but he does go down swinging again. Fisher strikes out looking. And even though that Durangelo goes 1-2-3, there were some extended at-bats here. I thought he had some trouble locating and finishing hitters. And you say, but Stevie had 2 strikeouts. Yes, but those at-bats went a little bit longer, I think, that they should have. But top of second, Hines reaches on a fielding error. Ground ball to the right side there. And it was a low throw, but it's something that Ross should have been able to pull out there. So he gets on base, and you're thinking, okay, we got to get this run around. We don't bunt here. Heinzak flies out to deep left, and Hines tags and takes second. So you've got a runner in scoring position with less than 2 outs. Bryce Chance comes through and singles to the left side. Now you got runners on the corner. So again, now Ole Miss is thinking we're a pitch away from out of this with a double play, get a ground ball here, get an ending double play. The way Steven Spalletta hitting DH. Now, I said initially and had some conversations with people, I questioned this, starting a freshman on the road as a DH, lefty versus lefty. I don't think that is a recipe for success. And, of course, Aaron Downs, had a difficult night the night before. But I think this is a situation here where I probably would have DH'd Downs, or I would have found a way to get somebody else in the lineup. Nothing against Steven Spalletta. He had a bunch of tanks for us in the fall, but you're asking an awful lot here. He strikes out looking on 3 pitches. And it was not a good at-bat. Kohler then grounds out to short, so we get nothing out of this. And I think one of the reasons we got nothing out of this is because of the fact how we constructed the lineup. And not second-guessing, I kind of first-guessed this. Just my personal opinion. I could be wrong, but the evidence would support that I'm probably not. But I think at least there maybe Aaron Downs can get us a fly ball there and get the run home. We don't. And every out is precious. Every at-bat is meaningful. And I think we wasted one here. Bottom of second. Leger grounds out to third. Furness grounds out to short. And they first called him safe. He was not safe. And the fact that we had to review that, again, a bit of a joke. And then Jackson Ross doubles down the left field line. And then Smithwick, who had a really good weekend for the Rebels against Bulldogs, gets an infield hit here. And the next thing you know, Lyon singles to right center. So all this happening while 2 were out. And you could notice, too, Ole Miss began to get very aggressive early in counts. That was really the game plan, and you saw some of that kind of leak into Sunday as well. But they're hunting fastballs, and they were getting some earlier and handling them. And, of course, three hits in a row in the inning, of course, plates a run. Randall lines out to third, and that ball was hit on a rope, too. So it's 1-0 Ole Miss, and it really felt like it could have been worse. And again, you go back to that first inning when we leave, top of the second, we leave those runs on base. It's looming large here. Top of third, Johnny Long strikes out looking. Lengthy at bat there. I thought it was the right call, too. I know some of our fans didn't. Looking at it, I thought it was absolutely the right call there. Larry then strikes out looking. Marshawn singles to center field and then still second. And, the throw goes into center field, so he takes third. So now you've got a runner at third and your guy up there, DJ, and we get a strikeout looking. Needed to get a base hit there and get the run home. It's 2-out hitting is one of the biggest tenets in baseball. So for back-to-back innings, State leaves a run on third base. Bottom of third, Hill grounds out to short. Groff strikes out swinging again. Fisher walks, and then Leger homers to left center. So here again, 2-out base hitting, right? All three of the Ole Miss runs scored in the first 3 innings to get them out to a 3-0 lead were all 2-out base hits. Furnison flies out to left. Got to be able to finish innings. Top of 4, and that's the difference in the ballgame so far. Ole Miss able to get the 2-out base hit with runners on, State unable to do so. All right, top of 4, Hines strikes out swinging, and then Hyzak homers to left field. And they acted like that ball was a wall scraper. It was not. Get State on the board 3-1. And I thought that gave us a little juice. Chanson flies out at center field, and I really think the wind blowing out is it's one of the worst things that ever happens to our lineup. Every time we see that wind blowing out, we're thinking, it's got to elevate something. Let's go out there and hit line drives. It all takes care of itself. And then Spalletta strikes out swinging. Takes 2 balls, it fouls 1 off on a 2-0 count, and then goes down swinging. Bottom of 4, we bring in Brooks Auger, and again, post-game, Chris Amona said Durangelo had a stiff back, and with all the issues that we've had over injuries in the last few years, you just simply cannot afford to take any chances here. Well, Brooks gets Auger to strike out swinging, gives up a double to left center, and then we have a chance here to make a play, and we drop a pop up at third. Now, those are the things that just can't happen. I mean, that's Little League Baseball right there. That can't happen. Fortunately, Brooks is able to pitch out of it, but how many more pitches did he have to throw because of that? Well, a considerable amount, because Randall then singles, and now the bases are loaded. And Brooks just kind of bears down here and gets Hill to strike out swinging and Groff to strike out swinging. I felt this was a turning point in the ballgame, because of the fact that we got huge emotional lift from this. And we go right out there and take that energy into the dugout with us. And they gift us here a little bit, right? You get the hit by pitch to Kohler, and then it's a pass ball, and he takes second. So now, again, you've got runner in scoring position, nobody out. You got to get this guy home. Johnny Long, lengthy at bat here, gets down 0-2 and works it and gets the base on balls here. And then Larry tries to get the bunt down. They throw it away and pulls the runner off the bag here. And, we're trying to remove runners second and third with nobody out. And lo and behold, we get bases loaded with nobody out due to the error. So, again, the Ole Miss defense kind of helping us out here. But 2 mistakes by Ole Miss here kind of lends to the rally. And then Dave Mershon comes up and singles to drive in a run, makes it 3-2, bases still loaded. And then it's a pass ball. We've tied the ball game. So 3 defensive errors here by Ole Miss. Mississippi State really kind of gifted some runs here. Give Mershon credit for getting the hit there. But by and large, some of the issues that we've had generating rallies for other teams, Ole Miss does it for us here. And then Dole bears down here and gets DJ to strike out swinging and Hines to strike out looking. With this, again, as great as this inning was, it should have been a much bigger inning. You're in a situation here, you're thinking, man, I got runners at second and third. I got nobody out. And I got 2 of the top power hitters in the country. Just give me a productive out. Roll a ground ball to second. Give me a routine fly ball to center. And it's a different ballgame. But instead, we strike out twice here and get nothing out of it. Hyzak is intentionally walked to load the bases, and it's another wild pitch instead of run scores. But again, it should have been a much bigger inning. Should have been. Then Chance grounds out to third there to end the top of 5. But again, we take the lead here, but it should have been a much bigger lead. You chase the starter, and you can't get the big hit. And again, you go back and look at it, every run scored in this inning, in many respects, was attributed to a miscue by the Ole Miss defense. And that's a concern. I mean, yeah, you want to be opportunistic, but those runs all count. But it'd have been a different deal if we'd have went there and bunched 5 hits in the inning. We had 1 hit in this inning and scored 3 runs. Again, you don't want to judge the quality of the run, but you do judge the quality of the bat. Well, Brooks comes right back out and does exactly what you're supposed to do when you put up a crooked number, is give yourself a clean inning. He does. 1-2-3 inning here for Ole Miss. Fisher flies out to center. Leger grounds to first, pitch to Brooks, who covers, and then Furness grounds out to second. So 1-2-3, and you feel like you're good. Let's get back to work here. Spalletta, better at bat here, but still it ends with a ground out to first. Kohler strikes out swinging, and then Long pops up to the shortstop. So nothing going there for State. Bottom of 6, State's still holding on to the lead, and we're thinking, you, like me, we're thinking 4 runs is not going to win this game. It's not going to happen. Bottom of 6, Ross walks. The one thing you absolutely cannot do as a reliever is walk the leadoff hitter. And we do. Lengthy at bat there. We didn't get a call, but you got to figure it out, especially when you're facing 6, 7, 8 in the order. Smithwick then fouls out to the third baseman on a 2-0 count. Lyons then walks. So it's 2 walks in the inning, and we're able to get a double play. Randall lines to short, and then we forced the runner at first. And so we're out of that. But again, some self-inflicted wounds there, and it took a big play by the defense to get us out of it. But it's a team game. Top of 7. Larry walks. So again, a chance for us, again, to take advantage of some miscues by Ole Miss. And they double down and give you the wild pitch. Again, so now you got the runner at second, nobody out. You got to get the run home. Fortunately, we do. But again, another should have been and could have been another big inning. Mershon then walks. They pull Mallets, it feels like Josh Mallets has been at Ole Miss for 20 years. And then Dakota singles off the pitcher. And that ball was an absolute shot. I'm guaranteed that kid's got a big strawberry today. But, hey, he brushed it off like a champ. Now, bases are loaded. Nobody out in the inning. We do get the routine fly out to center. That ball nearly left the yard. RBI sac fly. So now, again, you got a runner in scoring position, less than 2 outs. Give me a productive out here. But instead, Hyzak strikes out swinging, and then Chance flies out to right. Would have loved to have had the reverse there, right? Give me the Hyzak fly out and Chance strike out, and it's a 6-3 ball game. So again, leaving ducks on the pond. It never comes down to one swing. Never. Bottom of 7, Cam Schulke comes in. He gets Hill to ground out to short. Then Groff walks. Get a ground back to the pitcher, and then Leger grounds out to first. So a really good inning here outside of the walk to Groff, because Groff had been a strikeout victim throughout the weekend. And I don't know what the situation was, but we just couldn't get a call there. But you feel like you're okay with Cam here, because a lot of soft contact in this inning by the Ole Miss hitters. Our top of 8, State begins to tack on, and this is when we all feel like, okay, we're going to put this thing away. State did what good teams do in this situation. We had some opportunities earlier in the ballgame we didn't take advantage of. We do hear O'Brien, who pinch hit for Spalletta, gets down 0-2 in the count and works a count, and it's a leadoff walk. And again, that's the worst thing you can do as a reliever, is walk the leadoff guy late in the ballgame. Kohler strikes out swinging, and then Johnny Long with an infield hit here, and it bounces off the shortstop and goes into left field, so it allows O'Brien to take third. So now runners on the corners, and they walk Amani Larry. And good at bat here by Amani, too. He gets down in the count 0-1 and then works it, fouls off a pitch, and gets the walk here. So that, again, bases loaded situation again. Mershon flies out to left, so we do get the productive out here. We tag and score. And then DJ comes up and singles to the left side, and Long comes around to score. Now it's a 7-3 ball game. And like all of you, I said, okay, with a 4-run lead, we're good. Very eerily reminiscent of that Friday night game in Florida. You have a 4-run lead, and you're thinking, okay, let's just find a way to get out of this. The difference was at Florida, many of those wounds were self-inflicted. Ole Miss just hit the baseball here in the 8th. But Hines strikes out swinging. And again, We're going to go as far as our stars will carry us. Ole Miss ties the game here in the bottom of the 8th. I don't know what they discussed in between innings, but Ole Miss came out with a much different approach on Kemp Schulke here in the 8th. Furness singles to center on the very first pitch. Then Jackson Ross doubles to left field, so certainly you got runners on second and third, nobody out. They get the big hit. Smithwick singles to left, the run scores. Now it's a 7-4 game. Lyons grounds out to the pitcher. We trade the run for the out. Now it's 7-5. And then Randall, the 9-hole hitter, doubles to right center, chases in another run. It's now 7-6. We get Hill to fly out to center, and you're thinking, okay, all right, let's just get out of this, get to the 9th, get back in the dugout. We bring in Davis, and he gives up a double on the second pitch to Ethan Groff, who had done nothing on the weekend, and that ties the game. And we get Fisher out at first. But let me ask you guys a question. How many times have you seen a team, not just at Mississippi State, but in baseball period, when you blow a big lead like that by your bullpen, how many times do you see a team rally to win? Doesn't happen very often. When you blow a 4-run lead in the 8th inning, chances are you're going to lose. Even if you play a handful of more innings, which we did. Top of 9, again, State, you just want to push something across here and give yourself a chance to end it. Hyzak strikes out swinging, lengthy at bat there. And then Chance flies out to left, and O'Brien grounds out to shortstop. So again, the DH spot kind of hurting us a little bit here. Our bottom of 9, Ole Miss with a chance to win it. Leger doubles down the right field line. And they bring in Gowan to try to get a bunt down. He can't do it, and then Leger, trying to do a little bit too much here, takes off, tries to steal third. He is out by a mile. And I don't know what happened with Logan Kohler. I don't know why we're lunging there to make a tag. He's got to come to you, right? You just position the glove and absorb the contact and make a tag. We lunge. He gets underneath it. And the only reason he's out is because he overslides the bag there. Now, give Logan Kohler a lot of credit for staying with the play. And at that moment, I start thinking, they're going to blow this. I was expecting him to walk it off, and I said, you know what? The baseball gods are watching. Ole Miss is going to pay for that blunder there. Gatlin grounds out to second. 2 outs. Roston walks, and then we walk Smithwick. It's like, okay, we're not happy yet. We're not happy without a little drama. So not only do we get out of that and have nobody out and 2 down, we walk 2 in a row to give them the chance to walk it off here. And then Birch, grounds to shortstop. We force the runner at second. So we get out of it. You're thinking, okay, here we go. And this is a terrible, terrible scenario for State. Kohler strikes out looking, Long grounds out to third, and then Larry strikes out looking. Guys, both of those strikeouts are 3-pitch strikeouts. That can't happen. And these are veteran guys. This isn't Michael O'Brien and Steven Spalletta, who are going to be good players for us. These are veteran guys. You cannot sit there and look at those pitches in that situation. You got to break something up. You got to foul it off. It's too close to take. 2 Ks looking in the 10th. That is losing baseball. Bottom of 10. Randall grounds to third. We bring in Carson Ligon, and the first thing he does is he walks Hill. So now all of a sudden the winning run's on base. But he gets Groff to strike out swinging again, and then Fisher grounds out the first. So good job by Ligon here. Even though he had the initial walk, he settles down and gets us out of the inning to force the 11th. Mershon grounds out the second. Jordan flies out. And then Hunter Hines comes through and hits a shot basically to Batesville there. I mean, absolutely crushed that baseball. And now you're thinking, we just need 3 outs. Hyzak walks, still second. Base hit here makes it a 2-run game. Would have been big. Chance grounds back to the pitcher. But it's an 8-7 game, and you think we're 3 outs away from winning this and winning the series. And the very first thing that happens is a leadoff single. Lengthy at bat, and then you wild pitch him to second. So it's the same scenario. Again, you give him credit for the hit, but the wild pitch, I mean, come on. And I see some people being critical of Johnny Long for – guys, some of these pitches were not competitive. Johnny Bench, Benito Santiago, Javi Lopez couldn't have stopped some of these pitches from getting down in the dirt. Gowan then grounds out to short. Runner has to hold. And then Ross flies out to right field. Leger tags and goes to third. And so now here you are. You're thinking this is it, right? Smithwick grounds to second. Going to be a tough play, but we boot it, and the run scores. You make a play there, the game is over. Birch then walks, and then Randall grounds out to first. So again, Ole Miss has given us some runs. We just give them one right back. Give Leger credit for getting the rally started. But we allowed him to go to second on a wild pitch, and then we allowed him to score because we couldn't make a play at second. Top of 12, O'Brien grounds out to second. Good to see him at least putting the ball in play, right? 2 at-bats for O'Brien, both balls put in play. Kohler lines out to left, and then all of a sudden with 2 outs, we get an unexpected development here as Johnny Long homers to left field. And off the bat, it looked good because it was on a line, and that ball creeps over. Now I'm gonna go ahead and say what I want to say, and you don't have to agree. It's fine. People are making too much about this bat flip thing, including Mike Bianco. I think Bianco really saw it as an opportunity to fire up his team. That's what I believe. Bianco is a veteran coach. He knows what he's doing. Johnny Long, by rule, should not be thrown out in that situation. I know in the moment people are saying, oh yeah, he did not flip the bat towards the Ole Miss dugout. Period. Now, he shouldn't have carried it as far as he did, but he flips it straight up. What's he supposed to do, flip it to our dugout? I mean, come on. Would I have hot dogged that? Absolutely. But did he deserve to be ejected? No. No, he did not. And a lot of people are just feeling that way because of what happened at Georgia. Johnny Long is the emotional leader of this team. Period. And I see some people saying, oh, Long needs to sit. You need to calm down, what you need to do. Larry then doubles down the left field line, so you're thinking, hey, a 2-out base hit here. It's a 2-run game again. So again, State 2 opportunities in extra innings to increase the lead to 2 runs to give you more margin to work with, and we are unable to do it. Mershon then flies out to center field. Bottom of 12, this is it, man. And what do? Up a run. The very first thing we do is we hit the leadoff hitter with a 2-0 pitch. So we plunk him. And then Ethan Groff reaches on the fielder's choice. We're able to retire the runner at second. A good throw to second. And I don't know if we get – Groff is pretty fast, but he's not Carl Lewis. But the high throw to second kind of disrupted the timing. We couldn't turn 2. You got to think, if we make a good play there, even though it wasn't charged an error, a chance for us to turn 2. We're unable to do it. And then we double down and we walk Fisher on 4 pitches. And then we give a wild pitch. So now all of a sudden, the tying run and the winning run are in scoring position with less than 2 outs. We get Gallen to go down swinging, Link to get back there, get down 3-0 in the count, give Nolan Stevenson credit for fighting back there, and punched him out. So here we are, 9-8. It all boils down to Jackson Ross in many respects. Of course, you had a base open there, but you just needed to go out there and find a way to get this kid out. And to his credit, he did not allow us to. We get up 0-1. He looks at a strike. And I thought it was a little bit center cut here. And he singles to left center. And both runs score and we walk it off. But give Ole Miss credit for making winning plays. Because down the stretch, Mississippi State had every opportunity to put this game away. And we didn't. And give Ole Miss credit, they would not go away. And that's the thing. You go back and you look at the box score here. Every time State scored an extra innings, they answered right back. Every time. But it all fell apart in the 8th. But so much of that is self-inflicted wounds. And that's the thing you keep asking yourself, how are we going to get them out? How are we going to get them out? How are we going to get them out? It's absolutely nuts. But yeah, this is the game that decided the series. This is it. Again, a blowout for State on Friday, a blowout for Ole Miss on Sunday. But the game, of course, the team that hit last won the game. But how many opportunities do we have over the course of the 9 innings to push runs across and fail to do so? And how many times did we kind of aid them down the stretch with some shoddy defensive play? We're one of the best defensive teams in the country. It's a tough time for us to have a lapse there. Fortunately, a couple of things didn't come back to bite us. But, the ground ball to Amani there. And, again, that ball was hit pretty well. It's going to be a tough play at first. But you at least like to think you could field that ball, and we didn't. We didn't. And so we have nobody to blame but ourselves. All right, final segment of the show brought to you by the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Just Google Stark Vegas Clubhouse, and you can see what all the fuss is about. I've had some friends use the facility. They had a great time. You probably would too. I just about guarantee it. It's 5 minutes away from the Mississippi State campus. 5 minutes away. So you can tailgate there on site, right, rather than having to bring everything over there and pack everything up. You can stay in an incredible facility. It's a renovated country clubhouse. 5 bedrooms, 2 bath, full service kitchen, got the wet bar there. Whether you're bringing your family, maybe grandma and grandpa are going to rent the place out and all the kids come. Bring the grandkids with you, sit around, play board games. How wonderful does that sound? Just have everybody under one roof. You can dine together because you can go stock that full service kitchen. You can cook all weekend, take turns cooking. I don't know what your needs are, but they can be met at the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Got the fire pit area out back, kind of cool to sit out there around a fire. It's what we do here in the South. A great back porch area too. Maybe you just want to sit out there and just have an adult beverage and just kind of watch the sunset. You could do that. Incredible place to be. Whether you're bringing a work group to town rather than go out and get 5 hotel rooms and everybody be scattered around the city, or perhaps maybe you can't find Jim. Where's Jim? I don't know. He said he was going to the room. Well, he's not answering his cell, right? So it'd be nice to have everybody together so you can have like a work area together, and then everybody can retreat to their own quarters in the evening. Look at it today. When you Google Stark Vegas Clubhouse, not only is your Facebook going to come up where you can kind of peruse through the amenities that are available to you there, also you're going to have some booking options. You can book through Airbnb. You can book through VRBO. But if you book through the Evolve website, I can save you a little cash. I love doing that for you. Promo code BSR10. I work hard for my money, but when I can save something, I'm happy to do it. Promo code BSR10 through the Evolve website gets you 10% off your stay just by listening to this show. Right? It's a gift that keeps giving, right? Stark Vegas Clubhouse. We're gonna rent it sometime in the future too. Probably this summer. Probably gonna do it for a weekend this summer and bring all the kids in and all the grandkids, and we're just gonna have a great time. And we're gonna enjoy just kind of hanging out together and having game night every night. Maybe we'll order some pizza. Maybe we'll get some Bulldog Burger Company. Maybe we'll get that DoorDashed. I don't know. But how cool would it be for you to have all of your family or all your friends together under one roof for a full weekend at a great place like the Stark Vegas Clubhouse? You simply can't beat it. All right, my review of this Sunday game is going to go very quickly because we're not going to go through all this stuff. We're not going to do it because I want to talk about what's next. I want to talk a little bit about the transfer portal. The transfer portal window opens this week. And, of course, some spring games taking place this weekend, so some people will wait. There will be some that will wait until after their spring game before they go in the portal. So we expect it to be busy this week and next week. There will be a big rush, of course, for players that get through spring and kind of realize, hey, this is not going to work out for me. If I want to play extensively, I go somewhere else. So I want to touch on that a little bit. But, look at the Sunday game that went 7. I think I actually recorded it as 8. Terrible game. Guys, in the 7 innings that were played, Ole Miss scored in 6 of 7 innings. The Bulldogs scored in just 2. But it really felt like we were going to make a game of it there in the third. We're down just 3-0. We get a run across, and then Ole Miss answers, which is what good teams do. And then you have, a scoreless fourth. They tack on 1 in the 5th, and it feels like it's starting to get away from us. And then in the 6th, it did. They put on 3 more there. Guys, the game is over. Okay, the game is over. It's just a matter of what the final score is going to be. We score 1 in the 7th because they walk Kohler with the bases loaded, and then score 6 to close it out. And it absolutely sucked. It did. But I think the reason we lost on Sunday is because we lost on Saturday. And what I mean by that is not just the emotional lift that it gave Ole Miss, and give Mason Nichols a lot of credit for Ole Miss. He pitched it really well. I really thought Sunday would turn into a church league softball quality game. I thought it'll be a bullpen game. We'll hit, they'll hit, and it may boil down to the last inning. That wasn't the case. We just simply couldn't get them out. It just seemed like every inning that they got somebody on, they were very aggressive in running the bases, of course, moving runners. And it wasn't good. It absolutely was not good. Luke Dotson comes in, and we just couldn't get people out. But we went all in and went on Saturday. And threw a bunch of arms on Saturday, so they weren't available on Sunday, and that ultimately cost us. And I think our best chance to win the series obviously was on Saturday. And we went all in to get it done and didn't get it done. And then somebody needed to have a pitcher step up on Sunday, and that proved to be Ole Miss and Mason Nichols, who I thought was outstanding. I thought he pitched it better than anybody from Ole Miss did all weekend. He goes 6 1/3, allows just 4 hits, 2 runs, one earned run, and then 4 strikeouts. So it wasn't like he's just up there mowing people down. He did a really good job getting sync on the pitches and kind of working down and making us hit ground balls, and we hit a ton of them. We hit 3 ground outs, but a ton of pop outs. He did a really good job getting us out on our front foot. Very efficient in what he did. We finally started getting to him, and they get him out there. And, again, we can't get the big hit there to climb back in it. That's the thing that in the 7th inning, when you look up there and you say, okay, all right, it's an 8-1 ball game. And then you start thinking, okay, a big hit here, and we can put a crooked number up. Maybe we can make this thing interesting in the final 2 frames, but they ultimately are not played because Ole Miss made the pitches to get out of it. But really, really difficult situation here, and we lose. And that's all I want to say about it. We lose. And threw a handful of pitchers here, and I don't think anybody was really effective. Cam Schulke comes in and gets one guy out, and then we get him out, bring in Logan Forsythe, who gives up the walk-off home run. Sierra goes 2 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 runs. Of course, the big home run to Leger early kind of got them rolling. Cole Cheatham, to be fair, I thought Cole came in and did a decent job for us. He does give up a run. But, we hadn't seen a lot from Cole, but I thought he at least was a serviceable reliever. Holcomb comes in, and it's bad Colby again. It's so crazy. He'll have one good outing, and then a pretty good one, and then a couple bad ones. But I think yesterday was just one of those games where it just wasn't going to work out. And that was really when they got separation in the game. That's when they really put it away with Holcomb in the game. Dotson comes in and really struggles to get anybody out. Just goes 2/3 of an inning, 5 hits, 5 runs. Not good. Not good by any stretch of the imagination. And so now we move forward. Of course, the next ball game will be Tuesday night at Duty Noble Field. Game time set for 6 p.m. against Alcorn State. And, I'm sure we'll go out there and we'll win that game handily, but that's not going to erase the sting of the weekend. We got to focus on Auburn now. And that's an Auburn team that's been struggling too. Now, offensively, they've been pretty good. McMurray's the guy that can really swing it, like Irish, of course. We're going to preview Auburn a little bit later in the week. We'll do that as we get into in the Friday show. But I want to quickly just kind of look, what it all means right now. So again, as I told you opening the show, if I told you that, hey, we'd be 7-8 in the conference at the halfway point, you'd say, you know what, Steve, after the last 2 years, I'll take that. I don't expect this team to compete for an SEC championship or a top 8 national seed. But I want to make the tournament, and I think, hey, getting 14, 15 wins gets us in. I think we all see it pretty much the same way. But the fact that we lost that series at Ole Miss has a lot of us in our feelings, right? It's true. It's true. All that said, we're still 3rd in the West, which sounds kind of crazy because we're only acutely aware of what happens at Mississippi State because that's who we're mostly invested in. But let's run the numbers here. Kentucky just continues to refuse to lose. And I keep saying at some point they're going to run into something. They haven't yet. Kentucky now leads the Southeastern Conference with a 13-1 record. Were you expecting that? No. 13-1 with 5 weekends to play. They got 15 conference games left. Kentucky could be a top 8 national seed. It's nuts. Tennessee's starting to get it going a little bit. They've won 6 in a row, 10-5 now in the league. Vanderbilt, really tough weekend for them. They lose all 3. They're 8-7 now in the league. And that's the thing, too, that really stinks about us blowing this game is that we could be right there in the thick of it with Vandy and South Carolina. South Carolina also 8-7. Georgia now 7-8. Florida 7-8. They do salvage a game on the weekend. And then Missouri falls to 5-10. In the West, Arkansas still leads the pack at 12-3. A&M playing exceptionally well. They're 11-4, 32-4 overall. And of course, State's there at 7-8. Alabama 6-9. Ole Miss 5-10. LSU 3-12. Auburn 2-12. This is an Auburn team that is really, really, really struggling, especially on the pitching side of things. We have to take full advantage this weekend. We absolutely have to. Auburn has lost 5 in a row. I know they have a midweek game coming up, but it's one of those things, too, that, hey, if we're the team that we hope we are, and we didn't show that on Sunday at all, and that's probably one of the things that probably concerns me the most. And I say that with love, right, is that I thought that we were kind of beyond that. that we would go out and, maybe not play as well as we're capable. It's just one of those things that I really felt like that we would show up, and the leadership on this team, which we have much better leadership than we've had in years past. I thought the leadership would be able to rally us a little bit, and we weren't able to do it. And Sunday was an abysmal showing by Mississippi State baseball. It was not Mississippi State baseball. It's not what we've grown to expect. It's not what we expected to happen this year. But it is what it is. Looking at the schedule, no ball games tonight, of course, but very busy day in the league tomorrow. As Air Force will be at Texas A&M. Bellarmine's at Tennessee. Jacksonville is at Florida. Vanderbilt is at Lipscomb. Ole Miss is at Arkansas State. South Carolina is at the Citadel. Kentucky's at Louisville. UAB is at Alabama. Georgia Tech is at Auburn. So not a typical midweek game there for Auburn. Bringing a Power 5 opponent. It's going to be interesting. Alcorn State, of course, here at Mississippi State. UNO, our Privateer friends, go into Baton Rouge, take on LSU. Missouri and Missouri State at Missouri State. And Texas Tech will play Arkansas twice this week on Tuesday and Wednesday. That's your midweek schedule. We'll get into Wednesday's show. We'll recap all these Tuesday games. But it's interesting, too. I've seen so many people that said, hey, Lamona should be fired today. Okay, let me give you my take on that. And if you will, take a deep breath, okay? Number one, we're about what we expected to be. But because of the loss to Ole Miss, a lot of people are like, I can't take this anymore. I get that aspect of it. I do. But all that said, there's still a lot to play for. Mississippi State, again, you look at the standings, you look at where we are. We have a very good opportunity to make the tournament. And that's what we're striving for. We're never going to make a decision in baseball based on the weekend series with Ole Miss. It's never going to happen. Never going to happen. We're a pitch away from winning that series. A pitch away. And so it's not like you look at it and say, well, Steve, we got 10-run ruled on Sunday. And we did. We absolutely did. We've also 10-run ruled some teams over the years. It's part of the game. But the reality of it is this, is that how this past weekend plays out is only as important as the next weekend. And yes, I understand the emotional investment in the rivalry as well as anybody. But let's say you go out, you should win a series this weekend. You certainly should, right? Last place team in the league. But at home, you need to try to sweep. Let's just say, what if we could sweep this weekend? I'm not expecting it. I'm expecting 2 out of 3. But what if we could sweep this weekend? Now all of a sudden you look up and you're 10-8. And you got 4 weekends left to get 4 or 5 games at a minimum. And you're on track. I think it's important to look at the big picture. What do we want from Mississippi State baseball? Well, we want Mississippi State baseball to compete for championships and to get to Omaha. Well, in order to do that, you have to make the tournament. Now, how many times in our history have we won a series against Ole Miss and then it never really amounted to anything? And a lot of it's, too, is because we were all thinking, hey, if we get that one up there, then we get them coming here next year, we could put together a decade of dominance, right? We were already thinking about it, and we didn't. And give them some credit, too. I mean, I've read these comments from people like they're the worst team in the league. They're not. And I have to give Bianco and those guys a little bit of credit, too, for the game plan they had on Sunday. Mason Nichols, again, does a great job. The troubling thing for me is this is a team that's basically lost 2 weekend starters. And we lose a series to them. Now, we've lost 1. Of course, if you have Nate Dome, it's probably a different discussion today, right? Not to put any pressure on that kid. But the reality of it is that we got one of the best pitching coaches in the country. And we lose 1 guy, and all of a sudden we can't string it together. They lose 2 guys, and then they find a way to get us. Now, granted, we're still ahead of them in the standings, still having a better season. They had the better weekend. And you tip of the cap to them, hey, you got us. You did. And you're able to walk it off and do it in grand fashion on Sunday. But the reality of this is this. We have a lot of baseball left to play. We need our fan base to remain engaged with this team and come support the Bulldogs. Because I think it's important to look at the big picture. And that's what I'm trying to focus on. I'll be honest with you. The Bride can tell you I was not in a good mood yesterday. Matter of fact, I didn't get on the boards much after the game. I didn't do a lot on social. I just wanted to give people a chance to vent. right? Because I was disappointed too. And me getting on the message board and trying to moderate that when other people are experiencing, an emotional disappointment is not a good thing. So you get out there and all of a sudden you start deleting posts and things like that, and people get upset. I believe when you lose like that, you have to let people get it out of their system. You got to give people a chance to voice their opinion, even if you don't agree with it. Remind you, too, transfer portal's opening up. We're going to run a 60% off the annual subscription special over at Gene's page. I'll have that promo up a little bit later today. And so, again, we got the running back commitment over the weekend. Big deal there, right? Big deal. Rashad Amos comes to us from Miami, Ohio. He was considered by some to be the top running back prospect in the transfer portal currently. He is a native of Fayetteville, Georgia. Last year, he ran for over 1,000 yards for the Red Hawks. Wore number 0. He'll wear it for us too. But 210 carries last year for 1,075 and 13 touchdowns. Breakout year for him. He didn't do a whole lot the first couple of years, but really big year last year. And I think it's important, too, to kind of look, number one, at our needs, right? Now, Rashad Amos, of course, originally signed with South Carolina. Didn't play much, transfers to Miami, Ohio, kind of proves himself. And people are like, yeah, this guy's legit. And now he's going to be a Bulldog. And that's huge because if you heard Jeff Levy's comments here, a week or so ago, he said we have to get better at the running back position. We have to get better at the running back position. And you start digging around a little bit and said, hey, we're going to take it back in the portal. Absolutely we are. But looking back at his numbers last year, some of his high games, 180 yards in the opener against Appalachian State. That's big. That's big. 163 on the road at Ohio and 115 at UMass. Granted, he's going to play different quality competition here. But all I understood, this is a position of need for us. This is a young man that wanted to get back in the Southeastern Conference. We provided him that opportunity. And so one of our needs is met. Got to go out and get us an edge rusher, and we got to get us a corner and probably a safety. So, again, expecting 4, but we're not going to turn the good players down if we have room for them. And there will be some room made as some guys go in the portal. And reminder, I need your help in the Facebook groups and on social media. When guys go in the portal, it just opens up an opportunity for somebody else to be here. We don't expect anybody notable to go in the portal. If they do, it'll be a surprise. But all that I understood, in order to bring players in, we got to have some go out. And so we're still kind of putting this recruiting puzzle together here for the 2024 class. And we're not done. And we got to go out and get some players that can help us. Now, it's also understood, too, the SEC rules still exist for spring transfers. You cannot transfer within the league from one SEC team to another. So when you see a kid from Alabama go out there and say, hey, can Coleman Hustler go get that kid? Sure he can if he's willing to sit. And he's not going to be willing to sit when he could go somewhere else and play. So be mindful of that. There's going to be a lot of guys out there from other conferences. Of course, State's already out there offering some guys. And, of course, you will see a big flood. You're starting to see some traffic on social media. This is the intention for this guy to go out, And so you'll learn that, and we'll kind of move forward with that. But going to be a busy stretch. And I don't think it's going to be one of those things that lingers on into the summer because you really want to get guys on campus for your summer conditioning. And so while the portal's going to run here for a couple weeks, by and large, these decisions are going to be made by the end of May. And again, State expected to sign at least 3 more players outside of Amos. And I think that's a really good get. And when you begin to think about, Woody Marks is gone, Seth Davis coming back from an ACL tear. He hopes to be back this year, but he's not going to be 100%, right? And so you're depending basically on Kevon Lee and Jeff Pittman to carry the load. And I don't know that either of those guys is kind of a feature back. I think you need a guy that can be your regular back, and those guys kind of be depth guys. Not to say they're not talented. I just don't think that's a guy that's going to be touching it 20, 25 times a game. I think Rashad Amos is. So great get by Coach Jeff Levy and the staff there, and we look forward to adding some more players here in the weeks to come. If you haven't done so, go to WhenTheBottomFalls.com, and you can get my newest book, When the Bottom Falls. While you're there, all my sports titles are also available. That's Flim Flam, Stark Villains, Alpha Dogs, and Dog Pile. And not a lot of villains or alpha dogs left. So make a move. Mother's Day and Father's Day are both coming up. And maybe you got readers in your family or just big Bulldog fans in the family. that could probably benefit. It's a great gift idea for you. You get a signed, personalized copy to mom and dad. Wouldn't that be neat, right? It would be. And, of course, pre-orders for the dude coming up here in a few weeks. We'll share that information with you in advance of it going live, because I don't want anybody to be caught flat-footed, because those limited edition books are going to go the first day. I'm just telling you, I'll be shocked if it makes it to day 2. Been a lot of interest about it. People, Steve, can you hold me a copy? I cannot. Contrary to what people may tell you on social media, I do have an agent and a publisher. They handle all of that. It's not like Amazon brings a bunch of books to my house and I store them in my garage. That's just not how it works, right? I would never have enough time to handle that aspect of the business. Never. I would never know how to get books in bookstores and things like that. Other people handle that for me. Thankfully. But be mindful of that, because the dude, even my agent has told me, Steve, I've learned so much about Mississippi State. I'm having a blast. I'm having a blast too, learning and writing about an era of Mississippi State sports that most people don't know anything about. Right? I mean, most of the stories I've shared so far have been over 100 years old. Now they're only 99, because yesterday I wrote about the 1925 baseball season, which is one of the finest that Duke Noble ever produced, even though we didn't win a title. And I've also learned, too, that a lot of record keeping out there is incorrect. I don't just mean the Ole Miss records. I found some things even in the M Book of Athletics. They're incorrect. Not major things, but still, I mean, there's some scores wrong, some dates wrong, you know. And I'm going to make some mistakes, too. Trust me, after this first printing, somebody's going to say, hey, Steve, you said this game happened in Starkville. It actually happened in Columbus, because State and Ole Miss used to play. Played in Kosciuszko, played in Jackson, played in Clinton, played in Greenwood. I mean, there was a lot of things that we did to play those games. And of course, that Greenwood game, kind of a rarity. Played in Greenville. You know, we got out and did some things. But I just want to share that with you. It's exhaustive research. It is, and I'll be honest with you, I'm really tired these days. Really, really tired. But I'm having a blast, and we look forward to bringing the dude to publication here. And it's crazy for me to look at this calendar and think, in 4 months from now, you guys will be reading that book. And I think it's a book that you're going to want you'll cherish forever. I really do. And I'm not just saying it because I've written it. It's because of the subject matter is so underreported in our history. So there we go. But until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.